Hello, I'm Susie Liggat and I produced this Ood episode.
Hello, I'm Keith Temple. I'm the writer of this episode.
Hello, I'm Paul Kasey and I played Ood Sigma.
And we're watching now the opening sequence, which is an advert, which is Paul, in fact,
Yes.
our hero,
Yes.
dressed up. Paul, tell us how it is wearing and being an Ood. Tell us about being an Ood.
Being an Ood. It's pretty comfortable, actually, as creatures go. It's pretty comfortable. I know with this episode, the Ood head this time had more animatronics put into them. So it had more facial expressions, which was very exciting.
Is that noisier for you?
Yeah, I think the more animatronics in a head, the more noise it can create. And then because you're encased in a foam, it tends to keep the sound in.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, you sort of I tend to listen continuously and quite often have to ask people to speak up louder.
And what about being able to see? Is that a problem?
Vision is absolutely fine. I mean, obviously there's always that, thing with animatronic heads and, creature heads, that there is a slight... you do get less vision.
Sure.
And less, peripheral vision. But then it has to be like that, because if there was huge holes in it and you could see me inside and my eyes, then, it just gives it away. And I think, the less you can see that it is someone inside, the better it is, the more real it is.
Keith, how did it... I'm chuffed to bits that I got to produce the Ood, but how did it happen? Were you given it, or how did it evolve, the sort of you and the Ood?
Well, originally there was a meeting with Russell, and he said, we have an ice planet, we have the Ood, and there's something going on in the surface, and the humans are in charge, and it's a big corporate business. And that was it, really, and I had to go away and kind of come up with a story using, all those factors in it. And I spent, I think probably... coming up with the story and working the story out was the hardest part of the script, of the whole procedure. I think it started off being probably a little bit too dark.
Right, yeah.
And in fact, as well, Russell said that it was probably a bit too old Doctor Who. I was writing a 6-part in 45 minutes.
Yeah.
So you have to kind of simplify things as well.
Sorry,
also,
I just love this moment you'll see in a minute. It's just this sort of fabulous Doctor Who moment that we've never done big snow before, and I know that I think when you write kind of snow, one always gets a bit worried of, oh God, I'm only going to have a tiny bit, and there we've got
isn't that fantastic?
Huge amount.
Incredible.
So we really
that is
feel
amazing.
Yeah,
we're on
amazing.
We're on an ice planet. Sorry, carry on.
On a wintry day in August.
And a wintry day. In fact, I have to say, I think about 3 of the crew almost got sunstroke this day because we were up. It's a funny.
You really can't tell, can you? Because it does look cold.
Yeah, it's this quarry. It's up north of Cardiff called Treville Quarry, about 20 minutes north of Merthyr. And weirdly enough, I filmed our mutual friend there 100 years ago, 10 years ago, and this was the first time that we've been up there for Doctor Who, and it has this extraordinary landscape, very kind of...
Because quarry in Doctor Who has those sort of 70s connotations.
Yeah.
Oh, no, a quarry.
Yeah.
Well, that is oh, wow.
Yeah, lunar sort of landscape.
I promised myself I wasn't going to go wow, but I've already just started.
This is the first time that Keith's seen this episode. Is it probably all the way through?
I saw it on a little bit of telly, and it was a kind of a grainy copy, but this is the first time I've seen the clear version. It's beautiful to look at.
Yeah. Yeah, and it was something that the quarry, that was a kind of first for us. This level of snow is Aisha, darker. We had a really great cast in this with Tim McInerney, who we just saw.
I love that shot. That's a great shot.
Adrian, yeah. Well, and these it's interesting. These screens also. This was the first time that we'd used these back projected screens. So we could kind of go to the town with it. And Edward, Thomas, and I discussed making the screens very much part of the set. Part of the whole thing. That it was kind of It was the 42nd century, and we can make it kind of really high tech, and by having the whole kind of marketing
and the stone
thing.
and the walls and everything, the attention to detail. I think they've just done a terrific job.
And it's sort of all the icy colours and blue, sort of glacial colours. So,
But also there's a kind of a 60s feel about some of the moulded plastic furniture. It's great.
yeah, it's a bit Kubrick, isn't it?
Yeah.
I know. And it was a bit exciting. I did feel a bit Clockwork Orange when I was, when we walked in. It was exciting. And here, Paul, you remember that day on the quarry?
Yeah, I do very well, yeah. It was quite weird, actually, I have to say. It's the first time I've filmed on a set with snow. And it's weird in the sense that your eyes are telling you it's cold, but on that day it was warm. It's quite a weird feeling.
Strange.
And it was quite sunny too, and because everywhere was so white, it was bouncing the light back, so you were sort of squinting as well. So you had to try and stop yourself. I mean, I was okay because I had an animatronic head on. So
no, it's interesting you say that because I remember though it was quite difficult for David and Catherine getting, for them to be able to. I mean, it was a bit darker here, but the bigger scenes, the opening and the closing scenes, when they were doing their close-ups and stuff, it was really hard because the light was bouncing off the snow. And it was very hard for them, very painful for them to, try and keep their eyes open to look like they weren't kind of squinting at the snow for the camera.
Yeah, I remembered actually in between all the takes they were putting sunglasses on so they could rest their eyes. And...
Yeah, it was difficult. It was a big day, this as well. It was one of those kind of classic, incredibly ambitious days to get done. And
it looked incredible because I saw you and you had some rushes of that, and I thought it looked incredible without the special effects on it. It just looked great. Oh, we missed you dying.
I died again.
Paul plays quite a lot of different ood in this episode, don't you?
Yeah. I'm the only one with the animatronic
every busy
head.
ood, yeah.
So whenever there's close-ups on any of the oods and they want the animatronics working, then it's me. I did have quite a few costume changes in the day, some days.
Yeah.
It's a bit schizophrenic, isn't it? Who am I one minute and somebody else the next?
But it's interesting you say that because it actually was, because all the oods have very different characters in this, because we'll see later, we'll come to it, but, Ood Sigma, the Rabid Ood, and all the different ood, you did have to get into character.
Yeah.
Actually a lot, and there are some scenes where that's really pertinent, when the performance really comes through, of what's going on. It's a really physical thing, like kind of a mime, like a really lovely mime that you do.
I think it's down to Paulo that you feel such sympathy and empathy for the ood, because you don't just see them as kind of actors in suits. They seem living, breathing creatures.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen them previously as when as a slave, as the slave race, but when they also went rabid, and we see them as they are now. That's what we're used to, but we're not explained how they became enslaved or what their history was. So here, for the first time, we're becoming, we get to understand how they've come to be these servants.
Well, it was I felt really lucky as a writer to have the ood, because they made such an impact the first time around, and there were so many questions that you wanted to know about them after the episode had finished.
Yeah, and I think there's also, I mean, I don't know how you both feel about this, but what I particularly love about this episode is that also kind of new generation Doctor Who thing, which is the kind of human, now contemporary metaphors for what is going on, that...
Yeah.
Kind of controlling and enslavement and money and business and how far you will go.
Exactly. I mean, it may be the 42nd century, but humans, I'm sure, will still be the same greedy, grasping, avaricious types.
Yeah. And you can see here now the kind of contrast of the marketing suite as it is now, with our lovely screens, and then actually the truth of what goes on.
Yes.
The reality, which of course, if you look at, there's all the big kind of globalised conglomerates, it's that kind of thing. It's how something's pitched to...
Well, in my head...
make us buy it.
When I was writing it, there was a slavery aspect, and then there was the kind of battery farming industry, chickens,
farming,
turkeys, especially turkeys.
Yeah.
I won't name the company.
Yeah, I remember in that first draft, you did get much more of a sense of the battery fire. It was a more kind of...
I think visually, because in an earlier draft it was about cages, open cages, rather than in enclosed kind of containers.
Yeah.
And for various reasons that had to change.
Yeah. And this, you see now Tim McInerney and Ood Sigma, Paul playing Ood Sigma there, his loyal servant. Paul, do you want to explain what's going on here with the...
At the moment, I've just given Tim some hair tonic, and he's he's saying that some of his hair's growing back, but Ood Sigma doesn't answer. So he's sort of saying to himself, well, what would you know, sort of thing, making out that Ood Sigma's dumb, but little does he know. Later on in the story, there's a huge turnaround. But, I mean, Ood Sigma just follows him. He is his personal servant.
Yeah.
And, I remember every day, every time I was playing Ood Sigma, I sort of, I always just sort of felt that sort of level above every other Ood, a little bit special. Because I was, the Ood to the boss, really, so...
Yeah.
Great fun to play, though.
Yeah. And this weirdly enough, looks like we did this with green screen, but we didn't. We did this all for real, and the timing was all for real. It was all in camera. We had this graphic made
Incredible. It looks lovely.
in there, and because often it's strange because we're so used to compositing, I suppose I should say, like video elements or TV elements or other things on in green screen and laying them on afterwards than we are playing them back, which...
This back projection business, did they do that in the 60s in television? I mean, black and white, obviously.
Yeah, well, you still would...
Sort of thing.
I mean, you would... It was a tool to get, instead of going on, like in a car or in a journey or thing, you would film it and then back project and put them in a studio and that kind of thing. But this is now this super-duper high-tech...
The details,
laser
great. They didn't used to have that much detail.
And we just used it as a sort of painting, really as part of it to make the set feel like it was moving and the colours changing all the time. And with the kind of Warhol-esque ood. And so you have the kind of colour temperature in the room shifting. And it's quite interesting. I just think it gives
the colour palette in this episode is just great.
Yeah.
So I like this where there's 3 different types of ood. When you buy one, you can have 3 different types, and the female one's quite good.
If a bit creepy.
It's quite a shock. You don't expect.
Close your eyes; it's all right.
This is the first time that the Doctor and Donna are beginning to realise that, well, not beginning to realise, but are asking the ood where they come from, that they didn't, questioning their enslavement. And also, actually, a thing that we haven't touched upon is this circle that's being hinted at, which is making
the circle must be broken.
Yeah. And which is linked to the red eye syndrome, which we saw before in the Satan pit. And
I think there were elements that work really well in the Satan pit, so if something works, then there's nothing wrong in using it again. In fact, at the very beginning, when we were kind of mapping out and coming up with a story, we did sort of go down the path of having things underground, as in the Satan pit, but then realise that, we should really sort of move the story on and have a new look to it.
Yeah. Yeah, we were given a bit of this sort of location, present. I mean, it wasn't a present, but... It was a great find there. It was a great find by our location manager, Jonathan Allett, and we ended up in this cement factory, as it turns out, which is on the way just past Cardiff Airport. There you go.
That looks like it could be back rather a green screen, but it's not. It's just incredible.
It was
location.
one of the most extraordinary locations visually. It just gives you so
and
much.
There's some rolling business going on as well at some point, which is incredible.
And it's all real. I mean, all this that you see. I don't think really any of these. This is all real, and I'd never been to a cement factory before, and it's just amazing.
Look at that.
Yeah. And it felt. Very much like it was sort of a weird mixture visually, with these things and elements of almost concentration camp. These kind of work or not, or of just a sort of a workhouse, like exactly that, and the sort of battery hen sort of or animal kind of workhouse.
This is all exactly as I envisaged it when I was writing it. That's what I saw. That's great.
This thing is extraordinary. It's the kind of coker, I think they call it, and it's 2,000 degrees in the middle. And it's because the temperature to create
And
it
the
is so
energy, yeah.
intense. And so we were standing there absolutely boiling, weren't we? It was
It
boiling
was very
hot.
warm. Yeah.
Standing next to that thing turning and really noisy. It was incredible.
I was underneath that gantry when they were filming that.
This is where we come into Warehouse 15, which is where the
Something
ood brain is.
lives
Yeah.
and lurks.
Yeah, the main.
But the whole factory concept was, when I was writing it, I remember saying to Russell, "Oh, have you been to Middlesbrough and seen ICI? The factories with silver and glistening, and at night it's a beautiful thing. During the day it's ugly factory, smoke belching chimneys, but at night with all it lit up and the aluminium reflecting the water, it's an incredible sight.
Yeah, that's like Ellesmere Port on the Wirral.
Yeah.
Which is at night is just extraordinary. I've always wanted to kind of film there. It just looks, it's just visually brilliant. I mean, obviously, you know,
And alien looking as well, and that's what I wanted for this.
Yeah, it does feel, and it's the contrast I think is quite interesting from this kind of room and to the industrial kind of areas, and it was a real kind of big bonus. In fact, actually though, this location was in Mamhillard, which is, I think, was last seen.
It was
Kylie.
I think it was the last. Was it the last day of that shoot that you went to the factory?
Yeah. But the last time we'd shot here was was part of the Titanic. It was in Kylie. It was part of the Titanic engine room as it was all collapsing around. So yeah, and Adrian Rawlings playing Dr. Ryder, who's great. Adrian H, as he's known.
H.
I have no idea why. I don't know.
Don't ask.
Don't ask. What was this? What's this West Ham thing? Was that from you?
No, that was Russell. I
Was
have
it?
no idea. I have no idea about West Ham.
Oh, I think it's Matthew Boosh. I think he's a West Ham fan. I don't know. Football.
No, where was this?
Well, this was partly CG, partly the mill. The top half is the mill, and the bottom is in RAF St Athan, in one of the big plane hangars in RAF St Athan. Oh, it was one of those things that you think, until you actually do it, you've no idea whether it's going to work, because Edward, who is the genius designer that we have, suggested that we just get a load of these containers, and put them and arrange them like big Lego in a giant space, which is what we did. We basically hired, I don't know whether it was 25 containers, and used them as blocks.
That's no mean feat.
And laid them out, and we made a map of how it was to be, so that we could
run through the maze,
run around, and you'll see the sequence. I mean, it's quite a brilliant sequence.
I know Russell said from quite an early stage, I think of that last scene in Indiana Jones, the first Indiana Jones film, where the Ark of the Covenant is pushed away in a box, and it's a massive kind of cavernous room filled with boxes.
Well, we're coming to that. I mean, this here is Catherine touching on the whole, slave thing and the metaphor of the UK of the West and the third world countries providing our cheap clothing, etc. And here we are seeing the ood in talking in unison, which is all linked to the circle. And we're now part of this sequence. So we needed to find a big enough space to be able to exact this sequence that we're about to see, which was incredibly ambitious. And but as it turned out, the set with these containers was really, it just worked really well, because you could just go round and round and shoot up and down, and you'll see, we really did kind of.
And how long did this whole sequence take? Was it a big part of the?
It was a day.
Oh, just
it was a day. Yeah, we were there. I think we were a day, 2 days for everything, including we did quite a lot of the interior container stuff, and we went for the kind of costume touches here. Just looking at this and remembering is adding those kind of helmets, those sort of European helmets, to make the guys feel what they called, like riot sort of helmet sort of thing. They felt much kind of butcher and harder and more secret. The outfit was really, really kind of slick. And Roger's the big baddie. here we go in the beginning of the sequence. So the meal, we planned this
great.
all very much beforehand.
Wow.
And
so it is like an arcade thing, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. And so a lot of this was
Claws by
shot
master.
on a quad bike, and then underneath and various and on top and etc. So we just those bits, all the different toys to get, as you can see, to get this on a crane and knowing where.
So you have your camera on a quad bike, and it's sort of just looking up at the ceiling or whatever, or is that?
Well, no, we've got David doing all this running. It was all planned because with a quad bike you can film somebody running at full, because David runs very fast, as I think we've kind of, the publicity tells. And it's good for him as the doctor
certainly
to
did
be
a lot
able...
of running in this episode.
Yeah. And it's good for him to be able to do that freely without thinking. Often on set, when you're on a track and a dolly or that sort of equipment, you ask the actor, can you take the edge off it? Can you go half speed? Can you do that? And they look, they don't like it, obviously, and it doesn't look as good because it doesn't look like they're, look at that. Doesn't look like they're running very fast, which they're not. So we try and make it that David the doctor can run as fast as he can. So to do that, we need a quad bike rather than track, because otherwise he'd be running over the track and we couldn't keep up and he'd hurt himself and he'd see the track and all of those problems. Obviously, getting a quad bike in is has other issues for health and
safety, yes.
Finances and stuff, but on a sequence like this, it's great because it enables you to really sell it. And so here we see the Ood being released. I mean, this was a kind of a big sequence because the armoury and the firing and all of these,
That's also another good thing when you're wearing a prosthetic head is you don't need any earplugs because it's natural.
Yeah. So you've had that quite a lot with Cybermen and everything, haven't you? Always being fired at.
Yeah.
That was quite a big number. It's a funny, amazing thing with the guns, because everybody always gets a bit excited, or the boys get a bit excited when you get a machine gun on set, and volunteers to fire it and all that sort of stuff. But the speed that they fire the blanks, is amazing. We've got
scary
Fauger, who's a great armourer. But it's 70p a bullet.
Good grief!
I know.
Wow.
So I know. So I'm just watching pound notes flying out, going, stop.
This is a nice scene. I do like this scene.
Yeah.
Come on, you could go to the good.
Yeah, it's a big decision, isn't it?
No, she's gone back to the dark side of the Force.
Yeah.
But again, I think there's a metaphor here. It's a kind of interesting thing, and something that we often face quite a lot in a small way as human beings. Kind of a lot. We choose: are we going to choose to be kind or unkind?
It is a difficult one as well, because if you go back to that argument about what the doctor said about, well, you get your clothes from the third world country sort of thing. And it's not clear cut, because we know a lot of people know what goes on, but we still buy the clothes. Does that make us really bad people? And a lot of people would say yes, it does, but I think it makes us selfish. But that's humanity, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. So you can see now. Here's a thing doing that. The Rabidood, they're juggling around on a practical level with their Ood balls, because we decided that when they were rabid, their Ood balls would light up. You see, as a sign.
Yes, I hadn't noticed that.
But you'll see. So they light up. So it's finding, and when they're wriggling around, it's really hard because the connections go. So we have to really juggle around to find the right takes.
Yeah.
So. Yeah.
I wanted the Ood in this story, when they did turn Red Eye, to go beyond what they had done before. And I did kind of... There was a reference, and I'd seen 28 Days Later not that long before I wrote it, and there's when the humans go rabid with this horrible, terrible virus. I wanted an element of that, of just complete madness and animal kind of possession. And it is quite scary.
Yeah, it's scary. I mean, it was kind of... It's an because actually this is a good point to discuss this, because we... the concern is when you've got a beast that's kind of ugly and, with these kind of chipolatas coming out of its mouth, and it goes red eye and it foams at the mouth, and you're asking to be sympathetic with it. This was the key scene for us. That you have to understand that this is where they've come from. So these are the natural ood, and to understand that they're victimised, that they're victims.
And this is the first time we've
it's
ever
heartbreaking,
seen.
this scene. It really is.
This is the first time we've ever seen
Yeah.
natural ooze.
Yes,
isn't it?
ever.
See what they are before the humans have got to
And
them.
there's a wonder because the Doctor is hearing their song, which is a big thing, a song of captivity, which is beautiful. And I have to say, at this point, Murray Gold has just done the most extraordinary
Incredible,
job as well.
yes.
It's, I think it's just outstanding, and it's taken it to an even better level than I hoped. And Catherine here is amazing,
It's very
just
moving.
brilliant. I mean, she's great and funny, but this is just beautiful. And it's just a lovely scene between you, Paul. And this is what I mean by seeing different performances, Don't think I can talk over this one.
No.
So,
Yes, I think the music really does make this, because as a writer, you just say, "Oh, it's beautiful and ethereal," and pass the book.
yeah, it really has taken it to an even, higher level. And here we see, here's the natural creature that one should feel should be allowed to be free and sing its song, and that's what it's all about: breaking the circle and liberating these creatures so they can sing again,
Sing their song.
and and the industrialist, the baddie industrialist, trying to make as much money and mass produce as many oods to make, more and more and more. And here we see what they have attached naturally before they attach the translatable. And really touching scene. They're just,
And
it's
I
just
think it's
beautiful.
moving as well, because as a viewer, we've gone along with that kind of myth that, these creatures are born to serve. And at last we realise that, no, they're not.
Yeah.
Eek.
Yeah, and it has this, we put that, the umbilical cord that links. So, this amygdala that,
That was Lindsay Alford, script editor, who came up with that.
Huh? Lindsay?
It was Lindsay who came up
very
with that,
good.
yes. She did
Very good. I didn't have her brain
intellectual
surgery.
stuff at
her
university.
brain surgery in another life. And it's a really big story moment for Donna there, I think. It's episode 3. She's just been through the trauma of Pompeii, which, after the desperation to find him.
Which was really moving, yes.
And the adventure and the that she looks forward to. And then she goes on this journey and she goes to Pompeii and she sees the terrible destruction and the choices. And actually, we see through human eyes the difficult places that Doctor has to go. It's not just, oh, hooray, let's go travelling. It's hooray,
It's a facade,
let's
really,
go
isn't it?
travelling and actually...
The kind of glib attitude. It's
Yeah. Which again, actually, as I'm saying it, I'm realising, of course, is a thing, about that travelling for travelling's sake, or are you actually going to, get your hands dirty and do something? Exactly that. And now we see the ood becoming much more focused. And so we have a
Foot
kind
and
of
mouth.
contemporary reference there to foot and mouth, and what we've experienced a few years ago with that, and how awful that was for the animals and the people dealing with the animals, and it was a terrible time. Yeah, it was awful. So this is the beginning of the kind of ood rebellion. It's a kind of collective consciousness theory, really, I think, of, the power of collective consciousness, the power of collective thought, and here they're using their strength to rebel against what's happening and to turn themselves, and they become Red Eye, which is
and it's been building and building.
Yeah, indeed. How many ood were there? How many did we have that How many of your mates, Ood friends, were there?
10, I think, including myself.
Yeah. Oh, I remember that day. Do you remember that day when we were doing those pickups? And I was trying to recognise them, and everybody was pretending they were Claudio.
Yeah.
It was this is mad, like days like this, we'd have them all go, right, where's Claudio? And they'd all stand up with them and go, I am Claudio.
I'm Claudio.
I am Claudio. And you go to everyone, you go, where's Paul? I am Paul. I am Paul. They thought it was very funny. Very, very funny. So we have the kind of classic big fight sequence. So it was very Graham Harper, this. I knew he'd be great at this, the whole fight, shoot 'em up business. I don't mean to do him an injustice that he's not great at other stuff. I think it's brilliantly balanced, this episode. I think he's done a really great job. But this is kind of
what I love about it as well is that I know Doctor Who's always been about death and destruction, but I certainly think in this episode the humans who get their comeuppance really deserve it.
Mm. Yeah, the baddie humans. Mm-hmm. Yeah. A little bit of a flounce there, Paul.
A little bit of a flounce.
A flounce, yeah.
I think I was negotiating the steps. I think that was my concentration point. Actually, it's
animatronic head and steps don't really go together, do they?
It's far easier to go up steps, upstairs, because you can actually see the ones you can see about the fourth one in front of you, so you can see what's coming up. It's going down because you can't see anything.
Yeah.
So you're sort of... you just have to step it out and hope for the best.
Yeah.
But, fingers crossed, I didn't fall or...
No.
Fall off the steps.
No, indeed. And, yeah.
Just going back to that corporate thing, I think a line which I think did get cut in the end was someone saying, or was it Donna who said, well, why don't you have robots? The future's all about robots. And I think that kind of sums up this whole business that, well, it's cheaper to have Ood, so who cares if it's not technologically kind of perfect?
Yeah.
They're cheap. And that was the bottom line, wasn't it?
It's quite interesting. A lot of the stuff that we rely on is only facilitated by the cheap labour that we get. I was looking at, there was a picture in the paper yesterday about... taking apart a scrapping shipyard in Bangladesh.
Oh yes, I've seen the
and it was just one of those extraordinary pictures of people all over the ship cutting it up for $1 a day,
and
up to their knees in mud, in this kind of graveyard of ships. And I think Catherine really gives just such a brilliant performance here. I was there
when they shot that scene.
Yeah,
and it's interesting because you realise how good actors are when they're actually on the set shooting it, and there's no special effects or anything like that, and they're kind of repeating it, and every time they're doing the scene again and again, the emotion's there, and it's great. Well, but there's no magic until you see it on the television, on a screen.
Yeah. Well, I'm actually just remembering this. This would have been, because Catherine we shot this with episode 7 as our first block, so this was, still very early days in her coming.
Still be finding her feet.
And episode 7, which is about Agatha Christie, is quite different, quite other in a sense. And this is very much Doctor Who in Doctor Who kind of world and energy. And so, she hit the ground running brilliantly. And David, it's great. They just really seeing this series, making such a great partnership. We rather like that. Killed by giblets.
Yes.
I remember that day really well, actually, because I remember Graham saying to me, oh, the kids will love it. All those tentacles, they'll love seeing something like that. So I remember.
Yeah.
And Abby Collins was doing the stunts on that day.
Yeah.
So, I remember her sort of taking me through all the movements and everything, and I think I had to jump off about a 2-foot sort of level to jump onto him and in the right way, because I think I had the animatronic head on.
You could have missed him. Splat.
That was our die-hard explosion that Graham was determined to get in, which they both did brilliantly. And, how exciting. I love those things. You always get this build-up, when you're going to do a big explosion, everybody gets excited. A little bit tense and a little bit excited. And Danny kind of special effects wanders around very focused. And it's such a relief when the thing goes off, because you can go, right, we can get on with normal stuff now. You know, it's what it is, isn't it? It's always
Yes.
such a sort of, your heart's going, and just in case anybody gets hurt.
Everybody got their fingers and thumbs, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And also, it's so much better. We always, well, I don't know what happened. Anyway, I always try to shoot. I think we had 5 or 6 cameras on that, just little ones as well. And to shoot the rehearsal, to shoot the first take, obviously, because you only ever get that look of, oh my God, of the kind of sonic boom of it.
Once.
Yeah.
So yeah, and we did that on this and on Sarah Jane, when we did the special on Sarah Jane, that worked really, really well because they were all so terrified.
Oh, was that the very first one where there was
in the big
bang,
on the New Year's Day one, yeah. So here we see the brain for the first time. This is
Wow.
and this is the circle that we're talking about, the electricity.
Suppressing this
Yeah.
psychic energy.
Yeah. I mean, there's that whole thing, about, the power of the mind. Indeed. And so here we sort of a, classic moment of the Doctor and Doctor under threat. Exactly. And this is, as he's saying, it's the dampening of the power. So this is the thing that the Ood are telepathic, which is how they can speak and how they get in the circle to empower themselves, etc., etc. And this electrical circle is dampening that.
And this is the family, the guy's great grandparents, are the original people who suppressed the Ood.
Mm.
A secret that only he and his close family know.
Mm. And now we realise that H is a photo activist, a friend of the Ood. I think we're all friends of the Ood here, aren't we?
Yeah,
we're
we
all
are.
photo
Definitely
activists.
Yeah.
And
Don't stand too close.
so you'll see. So this, he was good at that. This we did with a mixture of a stuntman on the day jumping over onto some boxes and stuff, jumping over the railings. And then we took H and dangled him on a wire for a few hours, which I think he quite enjoyed.
Was it not painful, that sort of thing? Is it sort of the
Dangling.
wires and harnesses?
I think it depends how tight the harness is. Yeah.
True.
Yeah. And so we're beginning to see the Ood Sigma's involvement.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, over to you, Paul.
Well, when I remember the day I was reading the script and I was reading it through, and I was reading away, and I was thinking, I just couldn't work out how it was going to end. I just couldn't. And then as I turned the page, and I went, oh my God, it's Ood Sigma! It was, and I hadn't seen it at all. It hadn't even crossed my mind that it would be Ood Sigma at all. And I just thought it was brilliant.
Well, that's nice to know, because I did worry that would people get this too soon and would they kind of twig, but about the sort of hair restore and everything.
I mean, yeah, like I say, with reading the script, I was just completely had not got a clue at all.
Phew.
At all.
And this is great. I love this. It's a truly revolting Doctor Who moment coming up now.
Yay!
So basically, in the hair tonic has been essence of Ood. So he's what we're saying is that Mr. Halpin's been turning into an Ood, and now he's near the brain
Ood Sigma.
with the help of Ood Sigma, slowly and patiently poisoning him.
Yeah, here we go.
So no wonder his hair didn't grow back.
Exactly. It started falling out more and more. Well, that's it. Yeah, exactly.
Get his money back.
It's getting worse and worse.
I thought it was a great twist. I thought it was brilliant.
Yeah. He was brilliant at this, though, as well, so... You'll see this. Yeah.
Ooh.
So everybody put off their tea.
Including Catherine
All the
Tate.
gammon and eggs. Ooh.
And, that was actually Pete Chester, the best boy.
What, the mouth?
Spitting the mouth, yeah, because we shot it slightly different ways, so we decided we needed that shot, and then back. Yeah, so that was...
I love her expression there.
She's so funny, yeah. Yeah. Oh.
Oh,
Oh,
And
gross.
and a hind brain. Hooray! Oh, I love that bit.
and now he's one of them.
Yeah.
Isn't that just so right, though, that he becomes an ood? Don't
Yeah.
kill him, just
No,
make
no,
him
no.
an ood.
It's also that thing of walking a mile in another man's shoes, isn't it?
Mm.
You know, a woman's shoes. But and of course, what this means is that they get a chance to liberate the ood, because the Halpin family, obviously hundreds of years ago, had discovered this way of suppressing
Enslave
it
them,
and enslaving them. So now we have this beautiful song. Beautiful work.
Oh.
And it's a sort of glorious thought that, you know, I don't know.
Isn't
that
it
could
fab?
happen, wouldn't
Yeah,
it? You
yeah.
know, that it could happen, that something in
The
Iraq.
underdog.
If only.
wins.
You just
If
think, you
only,
look at this
yeah.
and you go, okay, what can we do? So how could it, you know, you imagine how beautiful it would be if you just stopped for one day, the guys in Iraq,
Yeah.
and, you know, but I just find this whole music so empowering and uplifting.
It's
and
beautiful,
The images, yeah. Yeah, I'm... Here, this is the blinding moment, as you can see. Poor Catherine, both of them. It was, yeah,
Before she passes out.
yeah, yeah.
Ooh. Oh.
So, I think
Stay.
she's got more adventures to come, and yeah, about learning to, and it's just brilliant that they've come there, and such a happy ending to feel like, you know.
Because there's also an element of, did he really just set the controls to random, or did he somewhere
Yeah.
deep inside and want to go to help the Ood
Oh, there's a big question.
after
yeah.
finishing them off in the previous Ood story?
Yeah.
Oh,
Hooray.
that's so great.
Yay.
Well done, boys.
It was brilliant.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed it.
Oh. And here comes Freema.
Oh.
Yeah. Oh, that was us as well.
Oh.
Ah. Yeah, it's so. I mean, that is the magic of Who, though, isn't it? That one can, you know, for all of us. Oh, you didn't get to play Sontaran, though. You were too big.
It's too tall.
But,
Yes.
yeah, you were too tall. You were excluded. But that we, that you have
Yeah.
the potential to go
And I should
anywhere.
say
and-
Silas Carson's his voice is perfect.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
great.
yeah, yeah.
Really
No, he really
lends a
good,
lot
yeah,
to the
yeah.
character of the Ood.
Well, we'll see. We'll see whether the Ood come back in
Who
the
knows?
future. Would you do it?
Oh, I'd love
Would you
to,
like
yeah.
to? Yeah. Keith
could
loves
do-
the Ood.
Could do the Eurovision Song Contest.